Good morning, guys. Welcome back to Venator Trading. It is Wednesday, July 19th, 7 a.m. We're back in the tree stand hunting trophy buck A-plus setups. Welcome back, everybody. Man, chat already popping off over there. Good morning, you guys. I see Candle Slayer, Corey, John, Mitch, Adrian, Biolamansky, Andy, Cisco, Sunrise. Good morning, you guys. Welcome in. So glad you're here. David, good to see you in the chat. Hope you guys had a great day yesterday after you got off the charts. Hopefully you didn't just sit around and stare at candles all day. There's only so much data your brain can bring in when you're talking about the markets, and eventually it just kind of gets overwhelming, and there's no reason to sit there and just stare at charts and candles all day long. Get out and go live your life. That's the whole point of what we're doing all of this for anyway. So good morning, guys. Corey says, looks like 600 sub mark was broken. I think it was. Yes. That is freaking amazing to me. I can't honestly believe that we're already over 600 subs just 2 months in to this whole thing. So, yeah, I mean, that's pretty cool. Very happy about that. Glad it's going well. Glad you guys are finding value. And I'm so grateful that you're here watching on most days in the morning and figuring this out together. So I'm so very grateful for you guys. So welcome and thank you for being here. Thank you for part of being that 600. We are marching forward. Twitter is nearing 900, which is crazy to me. Again, just I feel very blessed to be in a position where so many people in such a short amount of time have found some value for what I intended this stream to be. So I'm glad it's working. Hey, Alpha Bridge, good morning. Lorenzo, good morning. Sasquatch and Mr. Alfie. Grateful you guys are here. So we're going to jump over yesterday. Ended up just being a choppy day again. Pound had some, they missed their CPI number. Came in a lot lower than what they were expecting. And so you had a massive sell-off on GBP last night. This was the trade set up yesterday that we didn't take, but I wanted to, except this little candle right here kept us from getting into this trade as it closed back up inside that breaker. If it didn't work out and we had gotten tagged in right there, we would have moved to break even down here, and then we would have gotten stopped out at break even anyway. So ultimately, as just hindsight, you had no idea what was going to happen here, but we would have moved to break even down here if we had gotten into that trade, and then it would have tagged us out at break even. So no loss, but it is, you can see how that fair value gap and that breaker block held price down. Absolutely beautiful. That really is a nice setup. If this candle right here would have just closed below that breaker, we would have had an opportunity to get in. GBP, JPY did something similar, and I took that one off the chart yesterday, but it did something similar to us yesterday as well, but I can't remember where that was. But I would anticipate that, we've had this big sell-off, and we were expecting a retrace somewhere in this week. I would expect that there's still some downside here on GBP, potentially on JPY as well. And I think with the dollar gaining a little bit of strength here, these relative equal highs up here could be in play. If it's not today, could be tomorrow. If the dollar wants to continue down, you have all of these sell side imbalances, these SIBIs up here that probably will act as draws on liquidity for the dollar at some point. So the dollar never came down and took out last week's low, and the euro dollar definitely took out last week's high. So there's some SMT going on the higher time frames, which could indicate a little bit of a rollover here after such an aggressive move up. You can anticipate a move down on the dollar or on euro dollar today as well. And what that looks like for me is we just had this run on liquidity above the Asian session highs and above the London session highs, and now we're getting displacement, aggressive move down away from that. And what I see is, here is your, these are your down close candles right here. That initiated the run into liquidity. So you have this down move, and then you get a quick 1, 2, 3, very aggressive move up, stabs back into the buy side liquidity up here, and then you get an aggressive sell off. And now we're getting displacement through this low. There are a couple nice fair value gaps in here that we could target. I would probably just target 50% of the breaker as an entry here. And then I would just have my stop up here above the bodies of these candles. So maybe about 11 pips. And then my, I would be looking for something like this on EU today. But that's a nice move up, and with the dollar strengthening, we can anticipate some EU weakness. And this is a setup that would allow us to get in. It's already made the daily high. It doesn't need to go back up there, and it allows us to capture a 1 to 2 before we get to the bottom of the range here. So very nice setup. I'm going to set this up. Whoops, let me get that pulled out here just so you can see our setup here. Run buy side liquidity, displace through after you've grabbed liquidity, breaker block, fair value gaps, 50% of the breaker, stop above the candles that create the fair value gap and above the breaker. It's pretty textbook here, and I'm going to go ahead and set this up on my MT5, and we'll see what the morning gives us. We have some red folder news down here, but it is just the building permits. There's nothing in the calendar this morning that would keep me out of the housing starts and building permits. There's nothing in there that's going to keep me out of setting this trade up right now. So I'm going to move over to my MT5 here real quick and get all this information in. Bear with me. Damn it. Come on. There we go. All right. I'm going to copy this. Let me get this set up, and then we'll copy this out. My numbers are 12279 is an entry right there. 12389 is my stop, and 12045 is my TP. All right, copy this out. I'm going to get this up on Twitter here. But that is a valid setup and a live trade that I'm looking at right now. I've got it set up on MT5, and I'm going to post this out on Twitter. It's not very often we see a super clean setup right as soon as we get on the charts. And again, that is 12279. 12389. One two oh four five. All right, pound. We'll see if there's a setup over here, but you can see we're still selling off here on pound. I would have, for us to get any kind of setup here on pound, it would need to take out some of these highs. I just don't think it's going to. I think we're just going to see a bit of a continued sell-off here. Where might it be heading towards? Obviously, the liquidity under this level here. Whoa, get back down there. And on the daily, you can see from this daily swing up, we're approaching that 50% area. There's a fair value gap inside, right above that 50% area. So potentially down below Wednesday's low last week, somewhere in here. If we're going to see a reversal, it could be down there. Either today or tomorrow could reach down into there. And then if you see, I think this candle is going to close bearish, but I don't think it's going to just flip and turn like majorly bullish. But I think it's going to close bearish, but I don't think it's going to just retrace this entire candle. I think we're going to head down into this area and then see a pullback on Thursday and Friday, and it'll still be a bearish close candle. It'll leave a little bit of a wick down here. That's my anticipation for pound dollar. And in line with that, it would be, why is this? There we go. This would be in line with my euro dollar as well. I was anticipating euro dollar to come down yesterday and maybe give a deeper dig yesterday and not be so choppy. Come down into these levels, and then like today we would have gotten a low here and then pulled back. But it looks like we're probably going to see that pull down today. Noting the weakness on pound is probably going to, and the dollar strengthening, it's going to pull euro down here. The question is, are we going to get any kind of pullback first into this breaker here before it starts taking out all this sell side liquidity down here? So we'll see. No guarantees on anything. We just watch and wait. We look to see where our setups are forming and when they're forming, and then we execute our trading plan to the best of our ability. And so this is it's a good setup. I like it. We'll see what happens. GJ has also taken out its buy side liquidity here. So we might potentially have, you can see the pound yen is not as weak as the pound dollar overall, but you do still have, let me jump back up here. You have all of these relative equal lows here now. There's a lot of sell side liquidity wrapped up underneath us, and a lot of relative equal lows down here as well. You can see these nice straight clean lines. They are all going to act as draws on liquidity. We've run buy side. If we get some displacement, we had this quick stab up. If we get displacement through here, this run on liquidity began with these two down close candles right there. So that is what we would be anticipating, seeing displacement through, and then maybe leave, hopefully leave a fair value gap inside there somewhere we could use as an entry position. US 30 just chopping along here overnight, grabbed some more highs, and now it's just consolidated. See what it wants to do. If the dollar's going to strengthen, excuse me guys, you might anticipate a little bit of a pullback into some of these imbalances. So if that happens, we will just wait and identify where did this run on liquidity begin. It's hard to say because, I mean, it could be way down here. It could be any of these just teeny tiny candles. So it's not a super clean setup there. SPX grabbed liquidity overnight. Again, did not make a new high. US 30 took out and made a new daily high. S&P did not make in a new daily high. NAS did. Is that right? No, NAS also has not made yet a new high. So US 30 made a new high. The other two did not. Could be some SMT there amongst the indices. We'll just keep our eye on that. But we're just, you can see yesterday's daily high didn't come up. S&P, yesterday's daily high, didn't take it out. US 30, yesterday's daily high, obviously took it out. So, we'll see what kind of, and there's very clean lows under here. Very clean lows under here. The Gilded Gal. Here we go. This is gold, and we popped through our 30-minute fair value gap finally. Finally, popped through. We've tapped up into our daily breaker. So this daily breaker is from way back over here, and we're reaching back up into it. We did take out the most recent swing high. We did not take out all those highs, reached right up to it. This fair value gap here inside that breaker is an area of interest for me of what's going to happen there. But that 30-minute, we're in an uptrend, obviously. Oh, excuse me. I'm real interested to see what's going to happen here when we pull back into this 30-minute breaker that has held as resistance for so long. Will this be what pushes and holds price up now and pushes gold back up into this area? If the dollar is going to be strong today, you would anticipate some kind of retracement. It just depends on, how deep the dollar wants to dig back up and how far gold wants to dig down. Gold being gold, it could just create one 15-minute candle that takes out all of this, and then the next 15-minute candle could just be the opposite direction, because that's what the Gilded Gal does to you. So there we are. That's what we're looking at. Already got a trade set up, called it out. Now we're just sitting and waiting, see if we get any other kind of setups and seeing if this entry will get tagged in. So, yeah, quick rundown on the charts. We'll jump over to the chat now, see what's going on, see who else has popped in. Already up to 30 viewers. Good morning. All right. Welcome in, guys. Glad you're here. Sorry for the blurry camera. I'm not sure why it goes in and out like that. Cheap equipment, I guess. I need to upgrade my streaming rig. Let's see here. Who have we left out? I Chase Pips. Good morning. Trader X-Man. Marlon. Red Ezekiel. Corey Moss is there set up on EU. You just saw it. I Chase Pips. John, where did you put the stop on the pound? Not the number, but the place. For yesterday's setup, the stop was above. So this is a little bit of a different. I put it above where the liquidity was run, if that makes sense. So you see where we ran liquidity right here. I put it just back above that because it stabbed up, broke down, stabbed up, and then broke down. So it shouldn't have any more reason to go up there. I didn't want to put it up here because yesterday I didn't want to put it above that wick. I just don't like that big of a stop. It would have just had to do a lot more work. If we had put it up here to get our 1 to 2, it would have ended up hitting, yes, but see how much further it has to go beyond the liquidity grab here. So I try to find a place where I can feel like my stop is safe, get the smallest stop I can on the 15-minute time frame, of course, which is usually around on pound somewhere between like 10 and 20 pips. And knowing that we've already run liquidity here, um, typically I would say put it above the candle that creates the fair value gap, right? So one candle, two candle, three candle. Well, the highest point of those three candles is the middle candle, and I didn't want to have a stop that large. So it was part of kind of a little discretionary on my part. Just identified a smaller place to put that would be above the liquidity that was ran, and it worked out. So you could have gone just above the candle that created the fair value gap right there, which this is the candle, 1, 2, 3 candles, and it ended up would have been perfectly fine and safe there as well. But that's where I ended up putting it, right there. Hope that answers your question. Slow morning at work. Logging in on the job, Metro. Nice. Good afternoon, Bakan. Good morning. Welcome in, or good afternoon, wherever you're at. It looks like you're over in our the African continent. I can't remember if you're in South Africa. We have several South African folks in here. Kenneth, good morning. The market is slow this morning, however, can always pick up. Trading night, hello. Hope you're fine today. I'm doing great. Oh, Euro. I put it above the bodies of, again, above where liquidity got ran and above the bodies of those candles. So it's above the breaker, it's above the highest fair value gap, and it's above the bodies of those candles. So that's where it is. Satria, hey, good morning. Took a day off work and trading yesterday. Have you started Satria or Satria? I can't remember how I was supposed to say that, but have you started your 10K account with Bespoke that you won last week? Have you taken any trades on it? I'd love to hear how that's going. Deadpool, good morning. Beeswax, good morning. Red Ezekiel, you're going to teach your children trading just like ICT. So far, none of them have really shown any kind of desire or interest to learn trading yet. They're all kind of doing their own thing and building their own lives and doing what it is that they want to do. And if they ever get to a place where they want to, then yes, I would be more than happy to show them. Metro is my son, the mod in here in the chat. He actually has a 10K account with Bespoke, but he hasn't started anything on it yet. Thought about doing a whole series on the stream where I bring him in and he's in here with me and I'm showing him live basically how to do what we're doing here and talking through all that as a complete noob. He's not a complete noob. He does understand what's going on. He understands what I'm doing. But he has not spent any time actually trading yet. So we'll see. ICT Candle Slayer NQ looks like too clean than that EU. Maybe. You never know. I mean, it's run obviously some buy side liquidity here. It's in a major uptrend. We would anticipate a pullback here, but yeah, I mean, you've run liquidity. We're going to need to see displacement. There's nothing here to do yet until we see more displacement. So why above the bodies of the candles? The body closes are more important. The bodies are where the bodies open and close are more important to me than where the wicks necessarily are. So, and again, we've run liquidity. There's no reason to go run liquidity again. So it's above the highest breaker, and it can save me another pip and a half by using the bodies instead of using the wick. So I go just above that. Where was that? Let me put it back. 2389. but that's why. Taiwan checking in. Welcome in from Taiwan. Good to have you. Satri, yes, Brad took a trade the other day. One lost, 1-1. Result is plus $12 or something. Hey, you're break even, so that's good. Nice to see you taking a trade. Just be patient with that account. Don't rush in. Make sure every trade fits your trading plan. It needs to check off every single box on your trading plan, or there is no trade. John says, also a question about the entry. Is it in the fair value gap, the breaker, or the order block? I mean, it's in all of them. So you have an order block here, you have the breaker block, and you have the fair value gap. It's the trifecta. So I'm picking inside the breaker about close to 50%, right where these two fair value gaps kind of overlap. On the 30-minute time frame, you can see there's a nice little fair value gap there. So I'm hoping it digs up into that, which would be inside the order block as well. So it's kind of the trifecta of all of them. Good idea, father and son trading. Yeah, it could be interesting. We'll see. He's got a job right now where he's got to be at work pretty early. So it probably won't work out anytime soon, but you never know. It would be fun to do. Do you always include the wick in identifying your breaker? Yes. I will use wick to wick on identifying the breakers. For me, that's how I do it. Others may just use bodies. I use wicks to identify the full breaker. What's your RR on the Euro setup? It's 1 to 2.13. And again, I go a little bit beyond 1 to 2 just to get a true overall 1 to 2 risk reward ratio, factors in the cost of the trade. So it's just above 1 to 2. I say 1 to 2. It's just easier to say 1 to 2 than 1 to 2.1 or 1 to 2.13. So when I talk about my risk management, I say 1 to 2 RR. But in reality, when I'm actually plotting it out, I go just slightly beyond 1 to 2 to cover the cost of the trade so that I make a true 1 to 2 RR. Your thoughts on the 15-minute order block at the bottom of the breaker? I mean, time of day, I don't really think much about that, quite honestly. Just it's liquidity. For people move their stops down here off of this high, they're going to move their stops down here, and hopefully that will serve as my entry if the dollar can get a push up. So that's kind of what I'm shooting for there, aiming for, is just a push back up, grab out this buy side. Anybody that's short here and has moved to protect their position, get a return back up, stab inside there, and then let's roll. That's about it. Welcome in, everybody. If you're just joining us, we do have a trade set up on Euro that we're working and waiting to see if it will get triggered. The thing that really the only thing I need to identify at this point is where is this trade invalid, and for me, if it clears out that low right here. If it takes out that low right there before it triggers us in, then this would be invalid, and I would need to cancel that order. I can take this off from yesterday. We no longer need this up. And you can see the pound continuing just to kind of sell off here. Get up there. Pound yen still really not moving at all. US 30 showing some displacement here down. It had a quick deep dive here. S&P nothing, and NAS currently nothing. DXY, again, here's your relative equal highs up here. It wouldn't surprise me if it makes just kind of a little dig up into that. This swing high here is your next logical draw on liquidity, and then the one, so one right here on the 30-minute time frame, and then one right up here. And then once you get above that, you have several SIBIs, sell side imbalances, that might want to get tapped into. So that's kind of what, if we could get any kind, if we get any kind of pullback here on the dollar, maybe grabs a little liquidity here, comes back down into a discount area, that would tap us in, and then it can push up a little bit higher there. But that's all we're watching. The EU trade is now above a weekly BISI. I hope see price touch the CE. So what he is referring to is this right here. So you have a weekly this big weekly candle. Wherever this candle closes that we're in the current week, once it closes, it's going to leave behind a massive fair value gap here. And you could anticipate about 50% of this is what ICT calls consequent encroachment. And that would be around 50% of that weekly candle, which also lines up with your breaker, the top of your breaker. So actually, I guess, well, yeah, I don't know. You can see we've completely filled in this volume imbalance here. We've tapped into it. We've actually gone a little bit beyond it. And you're seeing price pull back away. And so now that it has filled that imbalance in on the weekly time frame, again, paired with this aggressive run up to capture that, you could anticipate some move, some little bit of a rollover. That's just how the market moves. You get aggressive moves up, and then you get some rollover. So that is the play we're making. And now we just watch and wait to see if the market allows us an opportunity to get involved in that move. I had an idea on is letting the chat pick either a pair for the day that we watch that's not up here, or a pair for the week that we watch that's not up here. So if there's a pair up here that, so I do euro dollar, pound dollar, currently GJ, US 30. I will use these others as correlations. The gilded gal's up there only because we looked at it yesterday. Someone wanted to look at it, but it's not currently officially on our watch list. But I was thinking about letting the chat pick, just putting a poll up and being like, hey, I don't know whether to do it like one every day, like what's the pair we're going to watch for the chat today, or if we should just pick one and we watch it all week. So I don't know how y'all feel about that, but just bring a little bit more chat involvement and let you guys have some ownership in what we're doing here too. So Pound New Zealand. Wow, I haven't seen that pair in years. John says cool idea. No one else seems to care, so maybe I'll just let John pick. He's going to pick the gilded gal. Adrian likes it. All right, so the first question to answer, let me see if I can even put a poll up here. Can you not change the... what's the... what is this one? You can't do multiple choice. At least that I can see. It's either a yes or no question. So should the chat pick, should the pair the chat picks be new every day? There you go. I didn't see a multiple choice option. It just says add a poll, and then it says, what's your question? Where did my chat go? It says, what's your question? And then it's just yes or no. So I was hoping I could do a custom poll there, but so we'll just make it a yes or no question. Should the pair that the chat picks be new every day? That's the first question, and then we can figure out. We'll just see if there is a. We'll take the top two that the chat puts in the chat, I guess, and that be a yes or no question. I don't know how to do a. I'm still learning how to do this, so. Engage with you. So I clicked a button that says engage with the audience, and then it's start Q&A, which means answer viewer questions live. But that doesn't mean anything. Or start a poll, and then it's just yes or no. Maybe because I'm not monetized yet, I don't have as many options. Maybe that's what it is. I don't know. Let's see. Oh, gosh. We've got 20 votes, and there's 37 people in here, so even if you're not in the chat typically, go ahead and vote in there. Helps out a little bit. And only 9 likes. Yeah, I see 14. But yeah, that's half of the amount of people in here. Only half of the people watching like what they're watching. So I can't help it if they don't like it. I mean, I wouldn't watch something I don't like. I would turn it off. I see 16 now. 20. Hey, we're getting up there. Good morning, Michael. Welcome in. We're currently doing a poll on letting the chat pick a pair that we can add to our watch list, and whether that pair should be new every single day or whether it should be just for the week. Like on Monday, we let the chat pick a pair, and that pair stays on our watch list all week long. 31 votes, up to 43 viewers. So we'll give it a little bit more. We'll give it a little bit more time. we had some more viewers pop in. We're voting on letting the chat pick one pair we can watch in addition to the pairs that I have on my watch list: Euro dollar, pound dollar, GJ, and US 30. Those are the four that I watch and look for setups on. But if the chat, I'm letting the chat pick. And the question is should the chat pick a new pair every day, or should the chat pick a pair on Monday at the beginning of the week and then it just stays up all week long? And we'll see. So go ahead and jump over there. It looks like the majority of the people are saying no, we should not have a new pair every day. We should pick one at the beginning of the week and let it roll all week long. That's fine with me. I mean, I'll let you guys decide. Wouldn't the pair have to be back tested? No, it does not have to be back tested. This strategy works across all pairs and all asset classes. If you go watch my my strategy video that I have on YouTube that explains how we do this strategy, I actually walk through a couple different examples across different asset classes. As long as you can identify a higher time frame bias on your analysis, then you're just waiting for a setup to appear that's in line with your higher time frame bias. And so then you're just looking for your rules to appear: a run on liquidity, displacement away, with a breaker and fair value gap. Price delivers across all asset classes in the same way. It moves from liquidity to liquidity. It provides efficient price delivery. All right, closing the poll down. 36 viewers, 36 votes. End poll. All right, so chat has spoken. We will pick a pair. So what we have Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. Let's see what the chat says about what pair we should add now. So just jump in and type in what pair you would like to see added for the rest of the week. And then we'll just see if I don't know a better way to do that. So just we'll just see how many, if there's any commonalities among the people that want to see a new pair. Should the pair the chat picks be new every day? No, it should not be new every day, which means we'll pick one pair and it will stay up for the remainder of the week. Not necessarily, because sometimes it can be another dollar correlated pair. It's fine. Like I watch UCAD, I watch UC on my other watch list for my other strategies. I have multiple dollar pairs up there. Sometimes one pair will grab liquidity and the other pairs won't, and then you can have a setup. So it doesn't necessarily have to be non-dollar related. It can be anything. It could be whatever the chat feels like is best. It could be any asset class, John. So yeah, it could be SPX, could be NAS, it could be oil, it could be Bitcoin, it could be Ethereum, it could be whatever y'all want it to be. I'm fine with it. The main reason on this stream that I am showing you just these four is because, again, I'm trying to show you that you don't need to have 20, you don't need to watch 20 different pairs. You can just use 2-3 pairs and one strategy on a 15-minute time frame, and you can be more than profitable and make a great living. So Doge. Live cattle, soybean meal. I have not, no, Red, I have not made any money on crypto. All right, I'm trying to look back over here. Red says AU, Daz says AU, Gregory says AU. So there's 3 AUs. I see a GA. I see an NU. Red says AU again. I saw you, Red. Don't keep saying AU. I see a NAS, CAD Yen, Aussie CAD, SPX, or NQ. So it's either AU or NQ so far seem to be the most, they seem to have the most traction, AU or NQ. John, it will have to be NAS. I can't specifically look at the NQ chart, so I'll have to look at it on the 8-cap broker. It'll be the NAS variation of NQ. Pull AU or NQ? Good pull. Well, I can't do that. It either has to be a yes or no question because I can't do multiple choice. So it's got to be a yes or no question. Yes for AU. I mean, we could just do or no for NQ. All right, we'll do yes for, we'll do yes. There we go. Vote yes for AU. Vote no for NAS. There we go. This will determine which one we'll add to our official watch list for the rest of the week. So this is a chat pair. The chat is picking this pair that we're going to add to our watch list for the rest of the week. And then we'll do this on Monday every week. Somebody will have to remind me next Monday because I'll probably forget. But we'll let the chat pick the chat pair. And let you guys decide what we can add to our watch list here. And then we'll look at it every day. And we'll see how the chat pair performs compared to the other Venator watch list pairs. Starting to get a little pullback here. We'll need to see a little bit more. We're about 8 pips away from our entry getting tagged in here. DXY did take out that high, I believe, 303. 306, 308, 309. So just tapped in, but I mean, that's basically relative equal highs right here. And you still have some swing levels up above you. That's probably going to want to reach for. We'll see if it does. Looks like AU is taking control pretty handedly. We still have 44. We still have about 14 votes out from all of our viewers. Actually, it's less than that because one of them is me, because I watch to keep up with the chat stuff and do the poll. So All right, we'll give it another minute or so. See if any of these other 15 people watching want to vote on the chat pair to add. Aussie dollar or NAS? What's going to be added to our watch list for the remainder of this week? And then we'll refresh next week. Yeah, I cannot stop yawning. No, I'm not. The housing permits, building permits is not a red folder news event that I will be concerned about. It is coming up in about 30 minutes, but it's not on my no trade list for a news event. YouTube Studio lets you edit poll length up to 5 options. Good to know. I'm with AU because... Why? I can't see the rest of that question. Oh, I like to work the morning session only. AU's good. It's another dollar pair. All right. Closing the poll. NAS lost. AU won. I'm just glad we can get the Gilded Gals off of here. I'll be using the 8 cap since it's the broker that I'm using for. Let's do some just quick analysis here on AU, shall we? Been a little choppy. So accumulation, manipulation, it distributed, broke back in, and now it's broken back up. You have relative equal highs up here on the daily time frame. Let me jump here to the weekly. Kind of in a choppy consolidation area here right now. I mean, several weeks, couple months of just, I mean, I know that's a lot of pips, but we're on a weekly weekly time frame, so that's kind of choppy there. We grab sell side, we pop up, we've grabbed buy side, broke back into the range, tried to break out last week, closed back above that range, and now we're digging back in. So potentially you have a higher high, a higher low, and the question is are we going to make a higher high? Is the Australian dollar going to strengthen? We have some red folder news. I guess that's later this afternoon. RBA meeting minutes. That's their rate. They're basically the bank, the Fed bank, like the U.S. has the Fed, the Federal Reserve, the RBA, are the people who meet to determine the interest rate. So for the Australian dollar, currently pulling back here into this fair value gap. So it still has this run started down here, this swing level here to that swing level. So we're approaching a discount area. So you could think that it has a little bit more downside here, tap into this daily buy side imbalance here. So just under the discount area. So it still has a little bit of room to run. If we drop down to our 4 hour, we can see we've been in an uptrend, higher highs and higher lows, but now we've broken structure on the 4 hour time frame. And this imbalance here, it's almost completely filled in. Still has a little bit of meat on the bone left there on the 4 hour. And then you've got your order block right down here. Could be the next potential Let's drop down to the hourly. You can see much more room here on the hourly. We've taken out buy side liquidity here, and now we've broken structure. Instead of making new highs, we're making new lows. It's inside this fair value gap. Probably wants to tap into this a little bit, I would think. This one below here, maybe. Just shows that there's more, we're on the sell side of the curve right now. So this was the buy side of the curve. This is the sell side of the curve. So it makes sense that it would want to dig a little bit more into these imbalances here. Those are very aggressive price moves. There was no sell side offered. It was just quick aggressive up. So you could think that at least this fair value gap here would be a draw on liquidity. If you drop down to our 15-minute time frame, you can see here overnight we ran liquidity, we displaced through, came back up into our breaker, fair value gaps all up in here, and then it's sold off. So I don't know that there's a move currently to identify on Aussie dollar. This would have probably been the move to try to capture. You run liquidity here. This move started on these down close candles right here. So there was your breaker. You did have, the thing that you would have been watching here is that you did have fair value gaps above the breaker. So anytime I see fair value gaps above a breaker, I will make sure that my stop is above the highest fair value gap, like I'm doing right here on euro dollar. So there's a fair value gap right here, but there's another fair value gap that's higher up. And if there was one outside of the breaker, I would make sure that my stop is above the fair value gap, the highest fair value gap. So when we're looking at Aussie dollar here, you would have said, well, there's your, if you drop down to a 10-minute, there's a fair value gap here and one here on the 5. There's a little one there. It's hard to say. Probably would have just used this one as this fair value gap right up in here as a potential entry. And knowing there's, so your entry would have been placed inside that fair value gap at the bottom end of it. Once this candle closed and displaced lower, you would have set your order right here. And you would have put your stop either above the candle that created it or at the bodies. Either way, it looks like your stop would have been safe. That's a 10 pip stop, and your 1 to 2, 1. Depending on your broker, that may have been a stop out. Just depends on the spreads there and your broker information. But for bespoke, that would not have been stopped out. That would have been respected, and then it would have just fallen off from there. So currently, though, there's no other play here for me right now on Aussie dollar. That would have been the setup for today. Is that London move up, grab liquidity, displace, come back up into that. Trying to see, is there a better? No. That really is the best setup. Again, understand why I'm placing my stop where it is. If there is a fair value gap, if there's multiple fair value gaps inside of your breaker, your stop needs to be above the highest fair value gap, even if it's outside that breaker, because price can come up as high as that to rebalance, as it did here. So you want your stop to be above the highest fair value gap. That gives you the most protection. All right. Let me jump back over to, I'm going to get off of there and get back over on the chat here. I didn't know gold was an option. Any pair is an option. Any pair that's not on my watch list is an option. So let's see what euro dollar's doing. We're into our 8 o'clock hour. I would like to see a push up here in this 8 o'clock hour and then roll over for the rest of the session. We're going to need the dollar to retrace down a little bit here if we're going to have a chance of getting tagged in. RBA already took place on Monday. Oh, did it? Was I looking at the... I was probably looking at the wrong... Ah, yes. Yeah. Doesn't look like there's any more news here. But just another news item that we have to watch when we're checking all that stuff out. Still waiting on our euro dollar setup here to see if we're going to get triggered in. Daz says, awesome, I had that marked out. When you're talking about the Aussie dollar trade is what you had marked out? Daz, is that the one you're talking about? Awesome. Cool. That is the setup. Run on liquidity. Quick move away after you run liquidity. Identify your breaker. Identify your fair value gap. Put your stop in a safe spot. And then let it roll. It could have that could have easily just as well been a loss, and that's fine. This has, for me, when I execute this system, it has just above a 50% win rate. So, you know, I know going into it that half the time that I take these trades, I'm probably going to lose. I don't use the extreme fair value gap. I target the fair value gap inside of the breaker block as an entry. I know that it could go up there, but in my experience and in my back testing and data and live forward testing, using the fair value gap inside the breaker most often is the one that gets respected. This is not a super big fair value gap. The one above it is a little bit larger, so that could have been why it wanted to go up there. This is just a very, very tiny imbalance right there. But I do not use the most extreme ones. You can. That could be part of your system if you want it to be, and you would get, you know, you would get more sniper entries. You would get, would you get tagged in? Oh gosh, all right. Would you get tagged in, it would be a great entry and your stop could be a little bit tighter. But you're going to miss those entries even more than you miss a regular setup entry like this. When you need price to dig deeper on a retracement, the number of times it does that drops comparatively to getting in on the fair value gap inside of the breaker itself. So all right, we need about 8 more pips here. And then we'll see. That's why, again, our stop is above this breaker here. It could reach all the way back up into there. Inside that breaker right there. It's allowed to go that high, which is why I have my stop above that area. $50 viewers. I like it. 56 viewers. That's awesome. Welcome in, everybody. Glad you guys are here watching the stream. Thanks for checking it out. Say hi in the chat. I'd love to know where you're from and how your trading is going right now. If you're in a challenge, how it's going. If you're funded, how it's going. If you have a question, drop it in the chat. If you don't want to drop a question in the chat, you can always just hit me up on Twitter. My DMs are always open, and I usually have 4 or 5 conversations going in over there every single day. So if you have a chart you want to look at, if you have a question about analysis or anything that we're doing here, drop it in the chat over here or hit me up on Twitter. Either one is fine. Some people don't want to put all their stuff out on the chat, and that's totally understandable. I'm probably one of those people. If I was watching a stream, I don't know how active I would be in the chat either. So good morning, Sam. Red Ezekiel, currently up on my challenge account. Good job. Who are you using, Red? What firm are you using? S Boy says in Taiwan doing Fivers 250K second phase. Good job. Passed a 100K, but in $150 drawdown. Drawdown is nothing to be scared of, and it's also nothing to be ashamed of. Like, drawdown is part of the game. You're going to go into drawdown, and you should not feel bad when you go into drawdown, and you shouldn't feel bad to tell people that you're in drawdown. If you're a trader, you're going to be in drawdown. That's just the way it works. I mean, there's really no other way around it. So just be patient getting out of it. Just stick to your trading plan. Don't change anything when you're in drawdown. Don't change anything. There's no reason to do any of that. Your risk reward ratio is it's where your edge is on your risk management plan. So if you start jacking with your risk management when you're in drawdown, you're just going to be in drawdown longer than you need to be. Down 7% on my challenge. Oh God, that's painful. It hurts, but it can be overcome. Do you have 8% drawdown limit or do you have 10% drawdown limit? Sky, hey bro, thanks to your wonderful service and selfless attitude. Appreciate it. You bet. Glad to be here, and I'm happy to be streaming. It's like I said yesterday, I'm going to be trading every day anyway. I'm sitting at my computer in front of my chart anyway. I'm talking all this out to myself anyway, so I might as well stream it on YouTube, and it can be helpful for a lot of people that are still struggling and kind of knocking their head against the same walls that I used to. Toxie says, Venator, what's your thoughts on personal funds versus funded challenges? Sometimes I find that challenges create false expectations and feed the whole get-rich-quick mentality. So I am definitely a huge fan of prop firms. They offer you the biggest return on investment compared to trading your own personal account. There are some drawbacks, and you mentioned one. A lot of people just treat it like it's a lottery ticket. They think that they can get lucky and hit one big payout and not have to do anything for the rest of the year or whatever, you know. So it makes them feel like they need to rush to pass a challenge and get funded. And anytime you feel pressure to rush, you're not going to be making wise decisions. It's going to foster in you this desire to be in the market all the time so that you can pass that challenge. Because every day that goes by that you're not trading is a day you're not getting funded and is a day you're not going to get a payout. So on a personal account, there are very good things about trading a personal account. There's not the extra rules, right, that you have to follow. There's not anybody monitoring what your drawdown limit is, what your daily drawdown limit is. But the problem with the personal account is for most traders, they don't have a significant enough amount of capital trading their own personal account to actually make a significant difference in their life from those trading profits. So when you're trading a personal account, the downside is that really to grow your account to anything large enough where you can consistently make money that's going to really impact your life, you're probably going to have to flip your account multiple times. Well, that puts on a whole different amount of pressure on you. um, on the personal funded side account. You just feel the burden of not having enough, and then you realize, well, if I'm actually going to do this now, I've got $1,000 account. I need this $1,000 account to be $30,000 account or $50,000 account. So I've got to flip this thing 8 times, 10 times before I get there, or whatever the number is. And so that could foster the mentality of over leveraging, over risking, um, you know. So they both have their pros and cons. The biggest downside for a personal account is you just don't have large enough capital to make a really big monetary impact on your own life. Typically. I mean, to me, I think you would probably want at least, well, everybody's situation is different, but for me, I would probably want at least a $50,000 personal account. If I was going to be trading a personal account, I would want at least $50,000 to be working with, because if I could make, 2% of that is $1,000. That's for me, for if I'm trading 1 to 2 and I'm risking 2%, that's a $1,000 risk to make 2,000. And if I could do that 2 to 3 times a month, then I'm at a place where now trading could be potentially enough for a family in the United States to live on pretty well. So most people just don't have $50,000 to put into account, and it would take them a very long time to grow to a place where you have a $50,000 personal account to trade with. Read Bespoke and Funded Engineer. Both Bespoke is, I have no experience with Funded Engineer. They're very new. They're just a few months into existence. So just be cautious. That would be my, I'm not saying they're a bad company. From what I've seen from Funded Engineer, it seems to be going well and they're growing quickly. Bespoke is amazing. I can't say enough good things about Bespoke and the experience I've had with them. So highly recommend Bespoke. If you want to take a challenge with Bespoke, you could use, if you use the link in my YouTube description, I'll get a small little kickback. I don't ask you guys for money on this stream. Everything I'm doing here is for free for you. But if I can monetize this channel without having you guys pay me to do this for you, then I'm going to find ways to monetize this channel. I'm a capitalist. So while I love being able to offer this to you for free, and I'm not going to ask you to pay for this material, if there's other ways I can monetize this channel, I will. And one of those is, affiliate links. So if you click that link and you buy a challenge with Bespoke and you use that link, I get a very small commission off of that. So that's that. I won't ask you for money for trading. That's my promise to you. Not that that won't ever change in the future. When this $2 million challenge is over, I don't know what I'm going to do. I might just shut it all down and go away, disappear forever. So I wanted to document. I don't think I've ever seen anyone document this process from beginning to end, taking the smallest challenge account and using it to stack and grow to maximum funding with prop firms. I don't think I've seen anybody document that on YouTube. Now, I haven't seen every video on YouTube. Somebody's probably done it. I don't know. I just have never heard about it. And Bespoke currently offers the largest amount of funding that you can purchase, not scaling. Most of these firms have like 300K max allocation, 600K max allocation. Bespoke gives you $2 million, well, actually $4 million in max allocation that you can purchase without scaling. So that's one of the main reasons I chose them, is because they had such a high max allocation for purchasable accounts. I don't really have a big interest in doing one-step challenges. They have a one-step challenge. So they have their classic two-step challenge, which is what we're doing here. You can get $2 million on their two-step challenge, and you can get $2 million on their one-step challenge. The one-step, just tighter drawdown, more. It's a little bit more stricter trading parameters to operate within. So I'm just focused here on the 2 million. So once this $2 million funding challenge is over, I may just close the YouTube channel, or at least just I'll leave the videos up for people to use and watch if they want to. But I may just stop. Yeah, we'll just see. We'll see what happens with the community. We'll see what happens with everybody that wants to be a part of the Venator tribe. Who knows where we'll be? I mean, where we are already 2 months in. We're averaging 50 to 60 viewers a day throughout the entire stream. We have over 600 subs on YouTube now, just after 2 months. They have almost 900 Twitter followers after 2 months. So I think there's a growing need for this type of content and this type of teaching. So we'll see where it goes in the next 2 months or 4 months or 6 months. And then we'll just make some decisions after that. But funded accounts are similar to flipping accounts, except there's less money on the line. Exactly. Like you're putting up $100 for a 10K challenge. And once you're funded and you pass, let's say like on this account, right? I had a 10K funded account. Once I passed phase one, I made 8% on this and I got a payout. I had a 7x return on my money on that payout, plus the refund you get back. So really, I mean, you got your refund back plus the payout. So the return on investment is just so insanely high with prop firms comparatively to a funded account. You're completely selling me on doing the prop firm. Now I got to find one that will fit my budget and trading style. I'm interested in my funded futures. I'm interested in my funded futures too. I'm excited to see what they bring to the marketplace, because they were quite a disruptor they've been quite a disruptor in the prop firm space for the last year. They've just really, Bespoke was one of the very first to offer no time limits, but my funded FX was had made a bigger splash, I guess I should say, and probably had a larger impact overall on really pushing no time limits, to where now all of the big players are offering no time limits. I think Does Fivers have time limits still? I think they do. I'm not sure. But everyone else, FTMO, MyFundedFX, those are the last two big kind of prop firm titans to adopt the no time limit position. Sky, please be on this service for a long time. I will be on until I hit 2 million in funding. So if I suck and I blow these accounts and I have to start over, that just means I'll be on here longer than I anticipated. I don't want to blow any accounts. So, but there are prop firm, like, just because you have a funded account doesn't mean you're going to always have that funded account. You could lose that account. And so that may be part of the journey on here that we document, is losing a funded account. You never know. John, you're more likely to go into hiding than ICT. He seems thirsty for backpats. He keeps saying he's going to disappear in November, but he loves the spotlight a little bit, doesn't he? He loves the spotlight a little bit. And I don't know how there are so many people that can goad him into responding. You know, like, I don't know if he's going to have the patience to stay away and not, surf Twitter and find all the things that people are saying and misrepresenting him, how he can't. Like, I just think he values his material so much. And I would too. Like if I created something like that, like literally created something like that, that's my baby. And if people are attacking it or misrepresenting it, I would feel some type of personal responsibility to speak up and defend my creation too. Like I have no I don't hold any like I don't hold it against him that he wants to do that. Some of the ways he does that sometimes, probably not the most gracious or loving or, uh, you know, Christ honoring. So, there's some things there with ICT that, but dude, we're all freaking broken. We're all just messed up human beings. And so, again, I'm not pointing fingers at ICT. I'm just saying he does love the spotlight. And I agree with you. I will be shocked. So maybe in November he disappears, but he basically disappears in December anyway. He doesn't trade in December and January. So maybe he disappears in November. He takes off 2 months, takes the end of the year off and the beginning of the year off. And then in February, you'll see a tweet that says, "Want a taste?" And then he'll put up an execution of some crazy entry that he had. Red says, I always hear about scaling, but don't know how it works. Can you explain it? So scaling with a prop firm. So basically, most prop firms, the way that they work is they have a scaling plan. So they allow you a maximum allocation. Let's say it's my fund at FX. I think their maximum allocation is $300,000. That's the most you can get. Now I might be wrong. I may be wrong. I haven't checked, but off the top of my head, I think the maximum allocation for my fund at FX is $300,000. So once you have acquired $300,000 in funding, you can't keep adding to that funding. Good morning, love. You can't keep adding to that funding by purchasing more challenges and passing more challenges. The only way you can add to that funding is by scaling your account. And they have rules. Every firm has rules for how they will scale your accounts. So most of them have some variation of what I'm about to explain. So they'll say you need to be every 3 months, we will review your account. So let's say you get funded and you hold that account for 3 months. After those 3 months, if you have made a total of, let's say, 6% or 8% or something, whatever every firm's going to have a different number, but let's say it's 6%. If you've made 6% total in those 3 months, and 2 of those 3 months were profitable, meaning that you weren't in drawdown, like you didn't end the month in drawdown, but 2 of those 3 months you were profitable, then we will increase your account balance from $300,000 to sometimes it's like 25%. So an extra whatever that is. What is that? $60,000. So you can manage a 360K account. Or yeah, something like that. I'm doing math in my head and I'm not very good at it. So that's kind of how the scaling works. And so then they'll say we have a maximum scaling plan of $1.2 million. So if you keep that original funded account and you don't lose that account and you keep making consistently making profits, every 3 months will increase your account balance that you can manage until you reach $1.2 million. So why Bespoke is so awesome is because they will give you a maximum allocation of $2 million and they don't need to wait they don't give you a small amount to start with and then scale that up over a long period of time. Because let's be honest, there's not many people that can take and get a funded account and hold on to that original funded account for 18 months until it reaches maximum scaling funding. With Bespoke, you can just buy all of the allocation up front and you don't have to wait for scaling. So if you have the funds, you could go in right now and purchase 400K accounts, and if you could pass all of them, if you were just using one and copying trades to the other, then you could pass all of them and get your $2 million in funding. So it's kind of how that works on the scaling plan. I do not offer a mentorship program. Thanks, Corey, for answering that question. This is my mentorship program right here. It's on YouTube. There must be another murderer outside. Again, every day, there's always someone out there trying to kill our family, according to my dogs. Couple more minutes till the news hits here, and we'll see if that gives us any kind of pop. We got up close right to that fair value gap, but I don't think we tapped into that fair value gap. That high 12,241. Yeah, we did not get up into that fair value gap yet, so could see maybe here on the news we get a little jump, and then we see our drop here. Look at GBP JPY putting in a nice little displacement here. So there you go. Pound yen giving us displacement down here now, and that gives us a setup inside here as well. If we were targeting 50%, I would target that, and I would just use this swing level. I would probably target that right there. Just above the candle that created the fair value gap. And that would be the all right, I'm going to jump back over here to the news here real quick and see if we get any kind of reaction. We got 45 seconds. All right, about 10 more seconds here till the news hits, and then we'll see what kind of reaction we get if it gives us any kind of bump up. I don't anticipate it giving us a huge... typically it doesn't, unless it came in just... So housing starts came in just slightly lower than anticipated. The housing starts, they were anticipating at 1.48 million, and they came in at 1.43. And the building permits also just slightly lower at 1.44. They were expecting 1.49. So this GJ trade, though, is very interesting. It did grab this sell side liquidity here. Not getting much of any kind of reaction on the indexes here at the 8:30 open. Typically the 9:30 is when you get the larger reaction on the indexes anyway, but sometimes you get in 8:30 move. Not getting any really significant reaction off of the dollar there at all. So the question becomes, is the dollar just going to chop the rest of the day now like it did Monday and Tuesday? Or are we going to get any kind of continued strength here? If we don't, then this is not going to be a good setup there. GJ is a nice setup here. We've ran buy side. The only thing I don't like is that we did pause here quite a bit before we had that continued displacement down, but we have broken down. Could be a nice setup here on GJ as well. The only thing about GJ that I am expecting more pound weakness, but GJ overall is still in this very large uptrend. We've been failing to make new highs though, but you see all of this. Retail sees all of that and they're like, oh, we're trending down now, and smart money sees that as liquidity. So all right, I'm gonna hop back over here on the chat. Sky says, hi, Venator, may I know why you use 2% in prop firm even though it seems risky? Just asking. Yeah, it's not risky for me because I have my data that shows exactly how my trading plan has worked out with this system over the last 100 trades in a live market. So I know what my maximum losing streak is, and I keep it updated with every trade. And so with my max losing streak in place, I can hit my max losing streak and still not have violated the drawdown limit on this account. So that's why I use 2%, is because I have the data. It's like I tweeted yesterday, data defeats emotions. When you have data is what this is all about. This is a numbers game. It is a probability game. And so the more information that you have about your trading plan, when you know what your win rate is, when you know what your risk reward ratio is, when you know what your maximum losing streak is, when you know what your maximum winning streak is, you can then begin to formulate a risk management plan in line with those statistics. That doesn't mean it's going to be exactly that as you move forward, which is why I back it off to protect myself from my max losing streak. That if I were to hit my max losing streak, I'm still protected and I can reduce my risk and still have a chance to pull the drawdown back out. That's why I use 2%. If you don't, and I say this every time, if you don't have that data, if you don't have 100 trades in the live market where you know that you executed your plan as accurately as possible, you should not be risking 2% per trade. You should be 0.5%. You should be 1% until you have that data. So my trading plan is built upon a strong foundation of live market execution. So that's why I risk 2% per trade. Punxsutawney ICT. I like it. ICT is a demo account trader. Uh, yes, he is. I have seen him. He traded a live futures account. I think he took a $20,000 account. Was that in 2022? Part of his YouTube mentorship in 2022, I think he traded a live $20,000 futures account, and I think he flipped it to 50K in like 6 weeks. But yes, he is a. I mean, he teaches demo. He teaches on demo. He shows you on demo. He does not. He does not trade on a live brokered account. You are correct, and he does not do prop firms. I don't even know how he could now at this point. Like everyone knows his name. Everyone knows who he is. So there's a lot of brokers that probably wouldn't even let him have an account. If you haven't hit that like button yet, let's go. Come on. Let's go. What was I looking at? GJ. Is there a valid breaker in dollar CAD? Maybe. We can go look. If I'm looking on the 15-minute time frame, I don't really. I mean, this is a run on liquidity here. It displaced up, came back down. I don't see anything here that fits my system or strategy on dollar CAD. It tapped into an order block and has rejected off, but there's no breaker that I would say is forming here. You've got this run on liquidity, you got displacement up, but then it immediately rejected back into it. It didn't come down and grab liquidity again, and it's just started trending higher. So I don't see a breaker here that to work with on dollar CAD on the 15-minute time frame. Suryadev, hey, just got in. Any updates? No updates. Overplayful, I'm not in the GJ trade. I haven't called it out. Mostly because it ran all of this sell side liquidity here. I know there's still sell side liquidity below it, but now that it has run this sell side liquidity, I'm kind of not ready to play with that. I don't once my liquidity gets run in the direction I want my trade to go, I don't like that, and I will pull the trades off. Well, I don't know that we're going to get our entry here. It didn't even get up to our fair value gap, let alone inside that fair value gap. And now we're starting to see that roll over there. So we'll just have to watch and wait. If it takes out this liquidity here, then we will cancel this order. I'm just going to oh, I can't do that, can I? I need to come. Where do you... I'll just add it up here and move it down. So if price crosses that, then we'll cancel our order. It's kind of unfortunate. It was doing that slow climb up that I like to see, just slowly climbing. Got right up to that fair value gap, and now it's just rolled over. Somebody asked a question. A guy I follow, Kieran Duff, on Twitter, and he said, "What's worse, getting tagged in and immediately having your stop loss hit, or missing your entry by 1 pip and then price running to your take profit?" And I said, getting swerved on your entries it's so much more painful for me than taking a loss. For some reason, I don't mind taking a loss as much. When I execute my system and I get in where I want and the way I want, if I take a loss, it doesn't really affect me as much as if I identify a setup and my limit order doesn't get triggered by a pip and then it falls away. That is so much more frustrating to me. Aditya, how many days is the maximum you have gone tradeless? Probably just like a week or so, not more than 2 weeks for sure. I know there's been a week where I haven't, not in this challenge, but there has been a week where I didn't take a trade, and then early into the following week I found a setup. So typically the longest you'll go is about a week. We've been kind of in a dry spell here for the last 3 weeks. Some of it's just the summer, some of it's the way price has moved and just not given us pullbacks. Once we identify a liquidity run and we see displacement away, it's not giving us any pullbacks after displacement. So that's one reason we haven't had a lot of entries. So, but there's going to be weeks where we have a trade every single day. So it all averages out, and I'm not worried about any one day or any 1 week or any 1 month. In the end, it's all going to average out. And when I look back over the weeks that I'm trading, it's going to average out to between 2 and 3 trades per week. Pedro says the yesterday down candle at 8:15. I'm not sure what pair you're talking about or what candle you're talking about. Pedro, I need some more information. Sasquatch, curious why you don't use the upper fair value gap to tag into the trade. So on my trading plan, it is my rule that I want to enter as close to 50% of the breaker as I can. So in this instance, there's 2 fair value gaps. Typically when there's 2 fair value gaps, I don't even mark them up. I just will take the median of the 2 fair value gaps as an entry that's as close to 50% of the breaker that I can get. And then I just make sure my stop, because very often, very often, it's the lower fair value gap that gets respected on these breakers. So yeah, that's kind of why my main target is 50% of the breaker. I want to be as close to that 50% area as I can. If the fair value gap's a little bit above it, then I'll use the bottom of the fair value gap because it's closer to 50% of the breaker. If the fair value gap is below it, then I'll use the top of that fair value gap so that I can be as close to 50% of the breaker for my entry. Dollar CAD. The 8:15 candle from yesterday. Oh, so you're talking about the move. Okay, so you're talking about this stab up until liquidity here. I see. So you had an aggressive run up, displacement through. So I don't trade breakers from the previous days. I want to see fresh breakers appear. But that's not to say you can't use yesterday's or previous areas on higher time frames as potential breakers. Daily breakers may take a week to come back to. And so in that instance, you can use them. But for me, I don't want to look back over the last trading session or the day before I want to see a breaker on today's trading session. But you do have this push down. You see a run up into liquidity, quick displacement away. Hey, give me 1 second. All right. So again, breaker, your fair value gap is inside of there. If this fit my system, and it does not, but if it fit my trading plan, I would be targeting the bottom of that breaker, which is again 50% of the breaker is around here, but I want to be inside the fair value gap as close to that. So I would just target the bottom of that fair value gap. I would put my stop above the candle, probably the candle body, either here or here, since it's a pretty big stop. I'd probably keep it at the body of that, and then target your 1 to 2.1. So, so technically, yes, this would be considered a breaker block, but again, does not fit my trading strategy there on dollar CAD. Well, ladies and gentlemen, it looks like the euro dollar is not going to play nice with us today. We're going to leave this trade up and on and see what happens, but it looks like we're not going to. Looks like it's going to swerve our entry. It got up to, what did it get up to? 22.35, and we needed 22.79, so we got about 3.5 pips. We missed so far. It could still come back up. I'm not super worried about it. It could still come back up, but we'll looking less and less likely like that happens, quite honestly. Maybe on this 4-hour candle that opens, on this new 4-hour candle, you get a push up. But if it does, my guess is on this 4-hour candle, it's going to push up, potentially back up into the body of this order block right here, and then fall away. It may not even get up high enough. But again, I'm just going to leave this here. It's either going to take out this liquidity first, or it's going to give us an entry. And if it doesn't give us an entry by 10:30, then it will be canceled either way. See you, Red. Have a good day. What's rollover? Rollover is when the market moves from the end of the New York trading session into, there's a gap between the New York trading session, the Australian market opening, Sydney, and the Asian session. And so the spreads widen. There's swap fees as accounts roll over into the new trading sessions. But that's what that is. And so your spreads widen out tremendously, and you have swap fees to pay. And Wednesdays have the highest swap fees to pay on rollover, market rollover. How do you record journal of your trades? Well, right now they're all on my dashboards on my funded accounts, and then I can I just have an Excel spreadsheet that I just keep track of. I just have the pair, which strategy I use. So I have an Excel spreadsheet for excuse me, my gosh. I have an Excel spreadsheet for this strategy, and each I have 3 strategies that I use, and I have a separate journal for each of those strats. So they're all tracked on my funded dashboard. So I don't even keep, like, I don't take a screenshot anymore. I think that's helpful in the beginning, when you're first capturing your 100 trades in a live market. I think it's helpful to capture screenshots of your trades so that you can go back and analyze the setups, where you followed your rules, where you didn't. For me, I don't do that anymore. I don't screenshot every trade I take. I know exactly now what my setup looks like, and I know when I lose a trade, I will immediately evaluate and talk back through my trading criteria and if I followed my rules or not, and try to define whether it was operator error or whether it was just a loss, because sometimes it's just a loss. So there you go. That's how I journal. But I'll just enter in the pair, short or long, and then I'll put in the stop loss size. Like, I'll track how what my so I like to know what my average stop loss is on different pairs, and then win or loss. I mean, that's it. It's pretty simple. It's not super complicated. And then I can just track my win percentage. I can track my max losing streaks, my max winning streaks, my risk reward ratios, all that kind of stuff. So, but most of the dashboards now that you have on these funding programs, they give you more information than a journal is going to give you. And it's free. It's part of your membership, so to speak, into the prop firm. So I know there's a few journals out there right now, like Swift, TradeZilla. There's a few other firms that people are starting to use, but I have not used any of them before. So I don't spend a ton of time journaling anymore. I used to, and I think in the beginning it's super helpful. And I think you need to have a way to track your trading progress. But for me, having all that information on dashboards right now, is I get way more information there than I would on any journal I'm going to use. So it works for me. Owen says it's going to tease us again. It may. You never know. It very well may. It has been an extremely choppy week. Andy says, could you please talk a bit about lower time frames, like 1 minute or 5 minute? How come you don't like them? Just they can be confusing. Your stops are typically a lot tighter, and there's just not as much wiggle room. And for new traders and for traders that are struggling, it just moves too fast. You overthink things. It makes your brain work faster. You don't have time to think through all of your trading criteria. You don't have time to process quickly. Um, it creates a sense of urgency that shouldn't exist as a trader. You don't want to be trading with a sense of urgency. And when you see those candles printing quickly, you just it's just a recipe for disaster, quite honestly. And there are very, very few traders. Most of your profitable traders that are getting consistent payouts are not trading the 1 minute time frame. They're not doing what ICT does. It's not happening. Most of them are on higher time frames. They're taking the other thing it does is it just fosters this idea, excuse me. It just fosters this idea that that you need to be taking more trades because you see more setups, you get more opportunities, and that's a lie. Well, it's not necessarily a lie. It's just it just fosters again the sense of urgency that you should be taking multiple trades per day, and you should not. You should not be taking multiple trades per day. You can find, so typically for me, the I want to be trading in line with what the higher time frame is doing. So I want to know where the higher time frame draw on liquidity is, and the setups for me that are most reliable. And that's just my experience because I used to trade on the 1 minute and I used to trade on the 5 minute. I will drop down to a 5 minute to see if I can find a better fair value gap placement inside of a breaker of a 15-minute breaker. That's the only time I will use the 5 minute. But I want to see that setup form on the 15-minute. And then if there's not a clear fair value gap on the 15-minute, I'll drop down to the 10-minute and then I'll drop down to the 5-minute. And if there's not one on the 5-minute, then I just let it go. I don't care. It's not a big deal. It takes so much pressure off of you when you're not feeling that urgency because candles are moving and printing so fast. And you see all of these swing highs and you think you see liquidity run and you think you see displacement. And it's just a small little blip of a 15-minute candle that's actually grabbing liquidity on the other side. So it's just so easy to get confused when you're on the 1 minute. Anything lower than 5-minute really, but there's plenty of setups. Quite honestly, guys, there's plenty of setups to do what we need to do to pass these challenges on the 15-minute time frame. And if it takes you 4 months to start getting payouts, who the hell cares if you don't take a trade today? It doesn't matter. Think about the long-term perspective. It does not matter. 4 months from now, it doesn't matter whether you took a trade today or not, because you were patient and waited and you didn't see something that fits your trading plan. On EU, it is an equal high, right? This area here could be, I mean, it's kind of equal highs. It's not like super clean. Kind of equal highs there, but it's already taken out the buy side liquidity there and then displaced lower. So sell side is in its targets. So who knows what it's going to do here, quite honestly. I'm not going to call this trade on GJ because it's already run the sell side liquidity here, but I will keep these kind of, I'll keep this analysis up just because I like to see it play out. I want to see what happens. Even though it's run sell side liquidity, is it still going to respect this breaker and fair value gap? It doesn't have to because it's already run sell side liquidity. That's why I'm not calling the trade. But I'll leave this analysis up to see how it plays out. Into the 9 o'clock hour here, I can stay on for about another 30 minutes today, I think. So we'll get a good 2.5 hour stream in. And then I'm going to go about my day. Finally, NQ sweeped buy side liquidity. Did it. A little bit. Just a little bit. Grabbed some buy side there. S&P dipped into the sell side, but this is super choppy. There's nothing of any major interest there on any of that. Aussie has grabbed sell side. Not really getting any big move up on Aussie. It's just kind of trickling up here. Looks like London gave us all the volatility, and it looks like New York is just going to meander around again. Just another choppy, slow day in the markets. This is it's in the middle of summer too, so not entirely unexpected. Owen says, "What's your rough timeline for getting to 2 million funding? 6 to 9 months." If I don't know if you've watched, I have 2 videos up. I just have 2 videos on my, besides all of the live playlists, I actually created 2 different videos. One is laying out step by step how I'm going to go from 10K to $2 million, like the actual mechanics of how to stack accounts. And then there's another video that talks about this strategy that we're using here, the actual trading strategy we're going to use to find trades. So in the first video where I go through the mechanics of it, if I do everything perfectly, it would take just over like 4.5 months. But we're a little bit behind schedule right now, only because we've been in drawdown for like 3 weeks. And we've only had 3 trades in the last 3 weeks. So we're a little bit behind schedule. And I even said in that video, if everything went perfectly well, it could happen in as little as 4 to 4.5 months. But if there's any kind of hiccups like what we're in right now, then I said 6 to 9 months in that video. So yes, I think 6 to 9 months is a very viable and realistic time frame to be able to accomplish this. So 6 months would be right at the end of the year. And that's what I'm that's my own personal goal, is by the end of the year. So sometime by the middle of December. I probably will not stream after the middle of December. I'm guessing just take the last couple weeks of the year off, and probably at least the first week of the year off. So of the new year. So I'm trying and very hopeful that we can get there by the end of this year. But I mean, yeah, who knows? That's just all up in the air. Fingers crossed. I keep executing at a high level. The market gives us enough setups that allow us to capitalize on that. So you never know. Is there a thing you don't want to set a 3 to 5 pip stop loss on a funded account because of that? M1 is not the way to go. Yeah, the 3 to 5 pip stop losses, they look great on Twitter. They look so cool. But the reality is they just don't typically work out like that. Like, they just don't. More often than not, you're going to be more unlucky with a 3 pip stop loss than you are going to be lucky. And luck is the last thing you need to be relying on in this business. Aditya says, Bespoke YouTube launched shorts of you talking about patience, and where you say trading is 99% waiting and 1% execution. I haven't seen their YouTube channel, but I guess they're chopping up some of the interview and putting it on a short, so that's cool. But they're right. I mean, that's accurate. You wait. It's waiting. Most of this is just sitting around waiting. We've been here we identified a setup pretty much right after we got on the stream. We set our order, and now we've been sitting here for 2 hours and 10 minutes, just chatting and looking at other charts and looking at other possible opportunities, of which we've seen none. So. It is very much a waiting game. Very much a waiting game. Is that a pending order on Euro Dollar? Yes, George, it is a pending order on Euro Dollar. If you don't follow me on Twitter, I would highly recommend that you follow me on Twitter. I post all of these same trade setups. If they're live on the stream, I post them on Twitter. But even if they form while I'm off the stream, I will also post them on Twitter. So even if we're not on the stream and I identify a trade setup that I'm going to take for this challenge, I'll post that information on Twitter. So follow me on Twitter if you don't. And if you want to, if you think you want to try to enter a trade that I'm identifying, that's up to you. That's your call. But you need to turn your notifications on, otherwise you might not see that that trade alert. Owen says, "Man, my end-of-year goal was 400K at the start of the year before I had not even heard of Bespoke offering potentially 400Ks. I know, Bespoke, dude. I'm telling y'all, Bespoke is legit. They're not yet as super popular as like My Funded FX, the Funded Trader, My Forex Funds, FTMO. But I promise you, man, they have some of the best trading conditions as far as like spreads, commissions, zero slippage so far that I've experienced. They have some of the best trading conditions. They have the highest amount of capital that you can purchase. Instant funding, 14-day payouts. They're running discounts all the time. I mean, there's really nothing that they don't offer that any of those other guys offer, but they have way more max allocation to get to. So I don't know why people are not giving Bespoke their love, but they are a fantastic company. I have thoroughly enjoyed my experience with them so far. Time and price, what it always comes down to, absolutely. If we don't get triggered in by this 930 move, we're probably not going to get triggered in, unfortunately. Dollar dropping down into some of these fair value gaps here. Grab it, reaching into some of this sell side liquidity right there on the 15-minute. If it could push a little lower, that would correspond with our euro dollar trade pushing up a little bit into those areas. So we'll just have to wait and see. It's broken that low at the 630 candle, and our 630 candle here is way up here. So euro dollar lagging behind. The DXY has taken out the low that this candle represents on euro dollar, and you can see euro dollar is just lagging way behind. Dollar showing a little weakness, and euro is just holding steady, not willing to rise up as the dollar falls there. So that could be unfortunate for us. So dollar CAD showing quite a bit of weakness there. Has some very clear sell side liquidity on dollar CAD. It reached right back up into that breaker that we identified earlier in our session. It didn't get up into the fair value gap, but it did touch that breaker right there. So breaker touched it and it's fallen off. This sell side's probably going to get tapped on dollar CAD there. Hey, babe. What'd they say? I'm going to mute my mic here for a second. Right. Sorry about that. We had to drop one of our. So we have we have 3 dogs. So we've got 2 golden doodles. And then we have a small Maltipoo, which is a Maltese and Poodle mix, little bitty guy, and he's very old. And we had to take him to the vet. He's been losing teeth and bleeding all over the place. He's like 17 years old. So we're just going to go ahead. We met with the vet and they were like, yeah, probably just a good idea to pull them all out at this point. So he's getting his teeth pulled out, the rest of his teeth pulled out. There's not many left. So, but just talking to my wife about what they were saying. So your stand on hedging. I don't use it. And I think there's a few traders that probably use it and can use it profitably, but I'm not a fan. I also just haven't done a ton of back testing with it. Certainly no live testing with it. No, the order is still live. S&P climbing, trying to make a new high. US 30 pushing up. I don't know, man. Dollar is showing heaviness, and euro dollar is just not wanting to push up correspondingly, so kind of sucks. Yeah, Owen, it's been a very choppy week. I mean, this is, this is not just great anything here. Getting some volatility in the London timeframes, like here. You got one here around 9:30. Got a little bit of a push. I think that was news. But most of them are in overnight. You're getting pops and then you're getting chop for New York. So London gave us a pop down and a pop up. So again, we'll hang out here for about another. I'll wait till the 9:30 open for the indexes. The New York Stock Exchange opens at 9:30, so we'll stay on till then. If we don't get triggered at 9:30, I may just cancel this order, mostly because I don't want to sit and chop the rest of the day. So if we get volatility and we get an entry at 9:30, cool. If we don't, then I'll probably just kill that order. And what a slow, icky week in the markets. Just very. It's just pausing after that big move. I mean, this is to be expected. Anytime you have big, huge moves like that, you often will get consolidation. So that's what we're experiencing right now. You can still trade inside of this. There's still moves. You have to be very clear about where you are in the range, and when you're in a range like this, you want to trade away from or towards the extremes. So in this instance, we're trading toward the lower end of this extreme range here. So you want to, those are your targets. Alternatively, if you were just a level trader, you would not want to take a position until you got to an extreme and then target the middle or the other side of the extreme. For me, when I'm in ranges, I want to get moves like this. I want to move towards one end of that extreme when I'm trying to trade a range like this. DXY on the 1 hour rated buy stops. Is that a potential threat to the EU breaker? Maybe. Maybe. But not necessarily. Still have a lot of relative equal highs and internal draws on liquidity that the dollar could want to reach for, especially after not taking out last week's low, and the euro dollar did. We've had a break of structure. We failed to make a new low. Now we've had a change of delivery, and we've had a break of structure here. And so even though it's grabbed buy side liquidity, you're not getting displacement back through the dollar. Now that you've grabbed that liquidity, you didn't get an aggressive move back down. So that's why I'm saying you're not, even though it's grabbing liquidity here and it's making another stab up, you're not getting that aggressive move back down after grabbing liquidity. So I think the more frustrating thing for me is to see the dollar be reaching into these fair value gaps, which would be these fair value gaps on the euro, and the euro's not wanting to reach up into those fair value gaps like the dollar is correspondingly. If the euro had followed the dollar, we would have been tapped in right there on the wick, because this area right here is the same area right here on the euro. No, I'm going to be on for maybe 10 more minutes. Yeah. A little bit frustrating, but you know, it is what it is. Up to 40 likes. That's pretty good. If you haven't hit that like button, I'd appreciate it if you do. Do you consider multi-time frame fair value gap because EU tapped the 1 hour? Yes, I do consider that. That's why I said on the 4 hour. On the 4 hour, I would anticipate, let me get this block out of the way. So on the 4 hour, when it rolled over this new candle, I said, my guess is EU comes back up into the body of this order block right here, and then it starts to roll over. And it may not, it would need to dig pretty far into this order block to get up to our entry, which the dollar is doing. If you look on the 4 hour, it's coming back down into that little volume imbalance right there and holding off right there. So this order block right here is price is tapped right back up into the body of it, and then it's holding it down. So higher time frame fair value gaps like this definitely can be respected, and that could be what's holding price here for us. I need to get up here so I can move that over. SiriDev says, man, I really appreciate you for this effort streaming. Really helpful. I'm glad it's helpful. I hope that you're learning. I hope that it is helping you understand how to do this and what you need to be waiting for and how patience comes into play and the emotions and psychology that hopefully it can help you deal with those better when you're sitting here listening to somebody talk it all out. Not just trying to push a button and get lucky. I think that was probably one of my biggest learns, is that you can't just sit here. I mean, you can come in and push buttons and you can get lucky and you can pass a challenge. But if you want to be doing this as a business long term, you can't just be pushing buttons. You think the 1 a.m. 4-hour candle on EU is a nice sweep on eyes? Maybe, potentially. I would like to see EU dig down deeper into here. That could be the sweep they needed, but again, you're not getting displacement. After this move up, you didn't get continued displacement after you grab that liquidity. So it's obviously it collected some orders there, but there's still a lot of rebalancing down here that needs to happen. My eye is more drawn to the fact that we filled in this entire weekly volume imbalance and we've rejected off of it. That's more where my eye goes to, is all of the liquidity that was above here. We filled it in, reached into just above it, and then now we've fallen off. And we didn't make a new high here. Like here, a higher low, higher high. Now we've made a lower low, and this could be your lower high, and then you get a little bit of a rollover here. Thank you, man. I truly do appreciate these streams. I will be along for the journey. Well, glad to have you, and I'm grateful for you guys watching. The stream is only as good as you guys showing up and asking questions and participating. And so I appreciate you being here. It means a lot to me. I really do look at you guys as our own little tribe. All right, I'm going to watch the New York Open here in about 5 minutes. See if we get any kind of volatility. See if we get any kind of raid of these highs. Anybody that was short here may have moved their stops down to here or here. If we could get a raid of those stops, it might trigger us in. That's kind of what I would hope happens. And if we don't get that in the next 15 minutes, I'm probably just going to kill this order here as we approach the 10 o'clock hour. So it's just not showing any desire to produce any kind of volatility to get us moving here. Dollar showing some strength off of that fair value gap. Again, if euro would have followed the dollar path into these fair value gaps, we would currently be in this trade, because this right here is that area that the dollar drew to, but the euro did not. Second day on the live stream and goes by so fast. Loving it. Thanks for being here. Bees in. Cisco, I got to go. Catch you later another time. Thanks for watching, Cisco. We'll be back. We're here every day, 7 a.m. So maybe we'll catch you tomorrow. Hopefully, you can come back in and hang out for a little while. Just about 3 more minutes, and then we'll see. This will kind of be our last little opportunity in my mind to get triggered into this trade here in the next probably 10 minutes or so. S&P taking out yesterday's high. NAS still hasn't. US 30 reaching back up. Grabbing liquidity, displacement away. Could potentially be a breaker in here for US 30. Maybe. S&P up close candle, runs liquidity, breaks away. This could be a breaker for S&P right here. Just draw that out. Small little fair value gap above it. Not the best. I would rather see a fair value gap inside there. Nothing really clean on NAS there at all. You can see US, the UCAD analysis I'd said expect it to reach into this sell side liquidity, and it has tapped into that sell side liquidity there now. Just another minute here, and we're going to see if we get any kind of movement. I'm guessing not. Even if it triggered us in, I'm guessing it would just be choppy the rest of the day. Based on how the market's moved so far this week. About 20 more seconds here, and then dollar had a small little gap up there. Quickly fills it in. US 30, big jump. Big jump on S&P. NAS not giving us that big jump. NAS actually dropping. Man, when these markets don't move in conjunction with each other, it's crazy. Huge impulse moves up here. Now NAS starting to climb a little bit. Can you say again your analysis of S&P? S&P, I mean, it's obviously very bullish. It's been bullish for days and days now. So you had some consolidation. I was expecting S&P to run this sell side liquidity. And you can see it's just ripping. From a higher time frame perspective, if you pop up to the daily, your next draw on liquidity is up here. And then you've got your all-time highs in sights. So, I mean, it's just running so hard up, like offering basically no sell side here. Just chugging along. NAS took out yesterday's high and it has fallen off. But the Dow and the S&P are just cranking, man. Absolutely cranking. Yeah, here we go. You never know. Oh, just flirting with us. Just flirting with us. I mean, that is just crazy pumps, man. Crazy pumps. It's just so odd that the Dow and the S&P are just off to the moon, and the Nas took out yesterday's high and has just fallen down quite aggressively in the opposite direction, like aggressively in the opposite direction. It's so weird to me. This will be the one that hurts if it doesn't hit. Maybe. Maybe. It's still far enough away from my entry that if it swerves here now, I mean, it's not, to me it's like when it gets to a pip or a half a pip, like it closes in that fair value gap and it doesn't just reach up that little bit higher. That's what would make me irritated. So oh, the quiet moments on the live stream. My brain has run out of things to ramble on about. And now we all just sit here and stare at price ticking away up and down. I don't know what my wife is doing up there. I don't know if y'all can hear that. It sounds like she's building a new house. Not sure what she's doing, but she is working. Can y'all hear that banging? I don't know if my mic is sensitive enough to pick that up. She is getting it after it up there. Oh man, are we gonna get tapped? Yeah, B's in the pairs you see on the stream are the ones here that I tend to stick to: EU, GU, US 30, GJ. The chat picked Aussie dollar. We're gonna watch Aussie dollar for the rest of the week. So we'll keep our eye on that. I use DXY to correlate my analysis with the dollar pairs and the indexes. US 30 coming off its highs. S&P making new highs, Nas pulling off its lows, and everybody's just hanging out. Euro took out that high on this swing level right there. This candle, it's broken that high and taken out that liquidity there. We'll see if it wants to dig up into these fair value gaps at all. Uh, I don't trade any other sessions. I trade the New York session mostly just because it's when I'm awake and I don't want to get up in the middle of the night. Now, I've I used to trade London, but it just messed my sleep stuff up too much. So I've actually toyed with the idea of doing a London session maybe once a month or a couple times a month because um, London does give some great setups, and we have a lot of people. Probably the majority of the people watching the stream are on the other side of the pond, and so the London session, we'd probably have a pretty good turnout, I would think, on a London live stream. It's just something I can't commit to doing often, um, and the thought of me just having to set an alarm to get up in the middle of the night to come do this also is not super appealing. But I'm not opposed to it. It may be worth an experiment here to try a London session, especially since we've only been getting very few setups in New York in the last few weeks. It may be worth throwing in a London session. Dollar bouncing off of that. Fair value gap again. Yep. Jeez, man. S&P. Good Lord. Don't trade London if it costs you your sleep. I won't. But I might do it once just cuz just to give the people what they want. Not opposed to it. All right, if we don't get tagged in the next 5 minutes, I'm canceling this order, y'all. And I'm off the stream. So I will give this 5 more minutes and then I'm calling it. I'd be up for a London session if you ever considered. I'm sure others would too. I think there would be a pretty good amount of people that would probably stick around and want to watch a London session. So Nas pumping now, grabbing liquidity. Woo! Such a weird day, man. Typically, when the S&P is rallying that hard, the euro dollar is rallying hard with it. The euro dollar and S&P often move in conjunction because typically if the S&P is flying, it means the dollar is dropping. It's a risk on environment, so people are getting out of the dollar and putting their cash, they're taking getting out of cash and putting it into the market. And so the dollar's typically dropping when the indexes are rocketing off to the moon like that. In this instance, the dollar's just basically doing nothing. It's just sitting there holding steady, and the indexes are just like, screw that, we're out of here. So kind of risk on environment currently here at the 9:30 open, and the dollar is not falling as aggressively as the indexes are rising, which is what's holding the euro down too. So 2 more minutes. If we don't get triggered in the next 2 minutes, I'm canceling this thing. Why cancel in the next 2 minutes? Mostly because entering this close to the 10 o'clock hour, seeing how price has moved all along so far today, even if price comes up and triggers us in the next like couple minutes, the most likely thing that price is going to do is what you've seen it doing right here. And I don't want to just sit and chop all day, especially on Wednesday as the rollover approaches. On Wednesday rollover, I don't want to be in a trade near the end of the day. And so I was really hoping we would have gotten this push up. When the dollar came in and tagged in here like 30 minutes ago and the euro didn't back here, that was our entry, and we should have been in already because the dollar did hit that and the euro just didn't follow suit. So we should have been in already. Unfortunately, if the euro, if EU would have followed the dollar's path in correlation, we would have been tagged in already. So the market pauses for about an hour or so between New York and Asian, a couple hours, whatever, and then it just, the spreads get super wide and you have to pay swap fees and on all your trades, and just eats into, now instead of having a 1 to 2, you end up with like a 1.8 if you hold that trade. If we were in and we tried to hold that over the swap fee, we wouldn't get a true 1 to 2. All right, y'all, I'm going to go ahead and kill this trade here. I'm not going to sit around and wait for that to get triggered in. So it's off the table, and I'm going to tweet that out just very quickly here. Trade update, EUR, USD, sell limit, cancel order. There we go. Tweeted. All right, y'all. Thank you for being here today and watching and hanging out. It's always a joy and a pleasure to be with you guys in here every single day. It really is. I appreciate you showing up and being in the chat and participating. It really makes everything go by super quick. It doesn't seem like 2.5 hours have flown by, but they have. So we'll be back again tomorrow, 7 a.m. So you guys enjoy the rest of your day. Be safe, happy hunting, and we'll catch you in the morning. Adios.